Internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is White Sails Under Blue Skies, Dawnbringers, The Ghosts of Saltmarsh, Season 3, Episode 1. That's right, if you tuned in with us last week, it was our Episode 0. We were down one Scotty, and we took care of some downtime activities. In fact, that was the title of the episode. But this is the official episode 1 of the Dawnbringers campaign, happening every Thursday night right here on Mini Terrain Domain, twitch.tv/Mini Terrain Domain at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm just excited now to have all 5 of you here. It was exciting last week to be, we were only gone for what, 3-4 weeks, but it felt like forever. And in Season 2, we were without Scotty for 3 full episodes before he was able to join us. So I'm so happy to have you all here. We're going to do a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to get into the game. So first off, I do want to say, I'm actually going to say this now, because now's the time during the announcements to do this. A huge thank you to D&D Beyond, though not officially sponsoring us. Mini Terrain Domain is powered by D&D Beyond. So one of the things you can do is you can mouse over on your computer the whole everything here. Just slide your mouse over the Twitch window and a little thing will pop up over there on the left hand side of the screen with all of the characters. You might need to refresh because I forgot to set the proper campaign before we actually were streaming, but I did test it. If you refresh, then the Dawnbringers will show up and not some weird bardic cat and the other people that are less important than the cat. I'm just kidding. That's our All That Glitters game that's on Mondays. Megan, I think, was channeling Anna just for a moment there with that scowl. So yeah, we're very excited to be powered by D&D Beyond. It's very awesome, been very beneficial to the campaign. I do want to say also you can see the logos for Jasper's Game Day and Initiative Coffee Company. Partnered with Jasper's Game Day perpetually. They are a wonderful organization dedicated through tabletop gaming to trying to eliminate suicide, raise awareness, and fund crisis centers. You can type !Jasper in the chat at any time, and you can have a direct link to donate to Jasper, and that money does go to support the funding of crisis centers. On that same note, this is so important. We want you to know, and we mean this, all of us mean this from the bottom of our hearts. We love you, and you are important. If you feel in doubt of that at any time, if you feel that you need somebody to talk to, please, you can type !Help into the chat at any time, and you will see the phone number for the National Suicide Hotline will appear. Trained professionals are standing by at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255, or you can text 741-741. Please, anytime, or if you know somebody that's in that situation, give them that number. We want you to get the help you need because you matter. The other logo you see down there still ties into this theme here. Initiative Coffee Company, who I see over in the chat is with us right now. It's so awesome to be able to have partnered with Initiative Coffee Company's Help Action, and we have created a custom Brazilian and Peruvian medium roast of coffee called Metade. And you can type !Coffee in the chat and get a direct link to where you can purchase 12-ounce bags of this coffee. For the purchase of a bag of coffee, for every bag, $3 goes to benefit Jasper's Game Day. See, it's a nice little circle of love and support that we have going here. The Metade Rose coffee, I was able to be a part of choosing that particular blend. And oh man, I just love that coffee. And I love seeing when people get coffee and they share the pictures on Instagram or Twitter. It's just awesome to see. So let's see, what else do we got? I'm gonna give the mic over to Ted for a moment. I don't know, there's some small thing Ted wanted to talk about here. So Ted, take it away.
Thank you, Jake. So right now, Nerdarchy has launched our first Kickstarter. It dropped Monday morning, 6 a.m. So we're at, fourth day, third day. It's been a rough launch for me and sleep and what have you. I just keep hitting that refresh button. So I believe if you hit !Nerdarchy in the chat, it will pop up the link to our Out of the Box Encounters Kickstarter. At this point in time, it's I believe 40 plus encounters that are going to be going into the hardcover book if you want that, the PDF if you want it. We also have partnered with Arknight, who make the flat plastic minis and maps. So if you want to get the Arknight pack, you'll be able to run literally every encounter in there right out of the box. So go check out the Kickstarter. Back it if you can, share it if you can't. Let's unlock more stretch goals, because I have to tease this out. We are actually doing something, if we can get to that stretch goal, that no other 5th edition Kickstarter has done to date. So keep your eyes out, and let's see if we can make that happen.
That is going to be very awesome. I'm very excited for you guys to have hit the level you've hit already with the Kickstarter just launching this week. And you still have around 30 days to go. Lots more stretch goals. I'm excited to back this product, and that means that, of course, we're going to see some out-of-the-box encounters at some point in the future right here on the channel. And who knows, I might even weave something in to this current campaign and try to do it in a certain way to see if Ted even notices. That'll be a lot of fun. So that's very exciting. Very happy to be a part of that whole venture, and can't wait to hear when the thing wraps up, just of all the success. So I'm going to go ahead and do the recap. I think with our stop and start with various cons and everything, plus, just people trying to remember everything, and you guys don't need inspiration. You got 69 domain dice. So I'm going to keep it short and simple. And we're going to do a quick recap of the last session. So following the Dawnbringers' successful clearing of the Stone Tooth Mountain and the Kundrakar Dwarven Redoubt, that was orc infested, Duergar infested, monster infested, dragon infested, troglodytes, all kinds of stuff in there. And this crew went in and cleaned house. They killed a dragon. They killed troglodytes. They killed some animated rugs and suits of armor and a mimic bed and the Duergar, or they chased them off. They killed all the orcs they could get their hands on. Many orc ears were turned in for profit. They found some of Durgadin the Black's incredible weapons that were smithed with incredible precision, and some of them appear to have been magically imbued. They returned to the town where they were paid for their services, and they experienced some downtime, roughly covering a span of about 5 weeks. They learned various things. Fig learned, did a little bit of research and learned that there was something that correlated with something that Durgadin, the spectral Durgadin the Black in the mountain showed them, that in a region known as Saltmarsh, there is a island or a sunken tower or something. Talmud worked with his clan and the town to turn over, to help ensure, or rather with everybody else as well, to turn over Kundrakar to the dwarves, and was able to lay one of his ancestral guardians, Great Uncle Horm, to rest in Kundrakar amongst other dwarven kin. Cantriel made a friend. Cantriel spent some time in the wilderness to center herself, and she actually made a friend in the form of an older, what color was it? Remind me what color it was. Green fairy dragon. Thorgarn was up to a few things and still hasn't fully revealed what everything was that he was doing. And for some reason I'm drawing a blank. Oh, wait. Yeah, everything I have written here are things that are about what you... Oh, the big thing was, that's what it was. That you formulated a recipe with a local brewer. You formulated a recipe for a custom Dawnbringers ale, and I believe you had worked out enough to make 48 bottles, if I'm not mistaken. Also, speaking of alcohol, Talmud, working with the same brewer, sent her off, and she came back with about a dozen of the legendary ancient dwarven ale Kiergin. And together they each drank a bottle, if I recall. She took a small portion of that. I think you were left with 8, if I remember correctly. She took 4 of them as part of her payment. And hopes to be able to duplicate that recipe. And so we're going to pick up here with... Oops. All right, let's see if we can fix this super quick. Ted, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Because I don't have your things in the right spot. So I don't know if I can even put you where you belong. We're going to fix Megan's mistake. I think it's the same thing Cassie did the other night, probably. You hit the mute button on the camera, or did you disconnect?
My internet is hitting the fan and exploding everywhere.
Oh, no. Well, I will see if I can... While I'm doing this, I'm reminded that I forgot to mention the domain dice. I mentioned that you have 69 of them. But domain dice are a way that you, the audience, can participate in this game for a tip of $5 or 500 bits, resubscriptions, those kind of things. The players get access to domain dice. What do all those dice do? Well, that is explained down below in the scroll, or you can put that up on the side. Type that in the side, domain dice, and I don't know why I moved you in the first place, Jeremy. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Anyway, things like re-rolling a dice, making me re-roll dice, all the way up to a super critical double max damage on a hit for 5 domain dice. And I have enough graphics to hold out to about 105 domain dice. So that's a challenge, and I know of at least one person who has said that their goal this season is to get these guys up to 100 domain dice. So we'll see what happens with that. I just need to keep giving them reasons to use them. So getting back into the game proper, we are going to we're going to pick up with Griveth and Griveth's downtime activities. So Griveth, following the events of your clearing the mountain and arriving back in Blazing Dell, the gates were opened. Somehow the crowds knew you all were coming, but you quickly separated yourself from the party. What, over the course, we can play around, we're going to kind of do this a little free form, so it's a little more narrative. What would you do over the next month? What kind of things would you want to do in terms of research or purchasing things, carousing, whatever? What is it that you would like to do? Thank you, Star19, for the resub, pushing them up to 70 domain dice.
Okay, so Griveth, he's feeling a bit down because he's realizing that something is wrong, and he feels it's getting worse. He just doesn't know quite what it is. Okay, so he goes to the temple. I mean, he had that communion thing with Eldath. He and he did learn some information. So, but he's kind of he kind of decides that he needs some help. Okay, so he actually kind of reluctantly goes to Thorgarn. Okay, they butt heads a little bit, but hey, where are you going?
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
It wasn't me.
Did you see me go? Did you see me coming?
You just keep going. I will shuffle everybody around while you're talking. We're just gonna.
Did you see Griveth coming? Okay.
We're playing a little 3-card, three dwarf Monty, or 2 dwarves and a clockwork wizard.
So, I think some people have figured out at this point that Griveth can be a bit needy sometimes. So,
I didn't mean to snort in laughter at that.
Just a touch.
That's an understatement.
So he approaches Thorgarn, and it's really awkward. It's really awkward, and he's just hemming and hawing and stumbling. You're kind of like, kind of get to the point, and he's like, Thorgarn, it's like, I need your help. I think you've noticed that something's wrong.
Oh, aye. We tried the ceremony down in the dungeon, and it didn't really work. And we wound up kind of figuring out that the only way to get forward is to cut down whatever tree you planted. Need an axe? The Thorgarn is totally loaded with weapons. The war pick, the war pick, the war hammer, the battle axe, and now the longsword as well. But he doesn't use the axe all that often. But he's like, do you need this one?
I need you to have my back. I need you to watch. I need you to find out how to help me. I don't know what I need to do. And when that sign, when that omen, when it comes, if I don't see it, I need you. You're the only one that has this spiritual training that might be able to help me.
So I kind of again look over my right shoulder where, Father Griffin is usually there whether you see him or not. Did I say it? Did you hear me? And I come back to you got to cut down the tree. Isn't that what your waterfall told you to do?
Do what?
Isn't that what the waterfall told you to do?
Oh. No, I don't know what to do.
The tree. Are we outside? Is there any trees nearby?
I'm sure you could find a tree around this.
I don't know. I didn't go into the Citadel with you, but supposedly whatever you took out of there was bad. And that's the root of it. But if you want, I can keep an eye out. I can kind of make sure you toe the line, and if you step across it, I can hit you, put you down.
You've got to promise me something.
What's that?
I can't leave Cantriel unprotected.
You know she can protect herself, right?
Not all the time. And so
she's
I need you to promise me that you will get me through this so I can continue to protect her. I'm putting this on you. I'm putting this responsibility on you.
I look out for all of our team. So sure.
So don't let you're not going to let me down? You promise?
Promise. Make an oath, and I kind of pull out the warhammer that's been my companion for a while. This is Faithkeeper. This is what I do. I'm true to my word.
And with this problem I have, Cantriel's never going to accept me.
Well, that's something that you're going to have to.
If I didn't have this problem, I'm sure she would accept me. He kind of sniffles a little bit. He's like, kind of hiding his head.
I know you like the elven lass, but there's no reason you need to start acting like an elf crying.
What? I'm not crying. I just got something in my eye.
Okay. So
and I tried to darn thing in my eye. I tried to give her this box. It was an elvish box. I thought she'd love it, and she just didn't accept it at all. I felt like she didn't accept me.
It smells like you pulled it out of the dragon's arse.
What's wrong with it?
Did you clean it? Did you clean it?
Yeah, I wiped it off.
Oh,
had some cobwebs and dust on it. But look
smells
beautiful elvish designs on it.
It smells pretty rancid, dude.
What?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, why don't I smell it?
Because you smell like you've already died.
Make a perception check at disadvantage.
Me or him?
Him. Griveth.
Okay.
At disadvantage. No, I still did pretty good. 21.
Damn.
You can definitely smell this sense of the scent of decay that's been following you around, and there is a little riper smell kind of underlying it. That with that kind of a roll, you can tell there's a bit of an odor coming from this box.
Wait, I think you're right. Odorama, scratch and sniff. So it's like, what do you think? It's something in the box?
It could be. I mean, you said you wiped it down. I don't see anything there, but
should we open it?
I'm going to take a couple steps back.
Okay, so I undo the little clasp on the box, and I grab the lid, and I'm looking kind of anxious. What do you think's in here?
I don't know. How about I step back? Already some magic in this hand. A hammer in this hand.
I'm gonna open it.
Okay.
So I open the lid, and you see this black kind of inky cloud kind of swirl out, and it leaps on Thorgarn's face.
Ah!
Scotty,
Okay,
Scotty,
what do you do?
I need you to make a saving throw.
Okay.
And
Which kind?
I will tell you in a moment. It is a wisdom saving throw.
Wisdom. Okay, good. I'm good at that. Just a normal save?
As
No
opposed
disadvantage or anything?
No, just
Okay.
normal.
Ooh, geez. Okay. I'm hot tonight. I got a 28.
Interesting. So you made the save. I think with a 28, it's pretty obvious you made the save. So you can go ahead and describe as this inky substance leaps out at Thorgarn, but there's a part of your mind that also knows that what you're seeing isn't actually happening.
Oh.
It's like you see this thing almost as if you're a kind of like an out-of-body experience, and
Right.
it almost feels like that, like you're observing yourself opening the box. You see this inky mass that sort of roils, and tendrils of it seem to sort of reach up, and it has this kind of rubbery, liquidy kind of sound to it. And then you see as it reaches out and latches onto Thorgarn's face, and you see Thorgarn begin to struggle, dropping his weapons. The magic spell just fires off into the distance. He's grasping at his face as it begins opening his mouth, clawing in, and just as quickly you snap out of it. And you see Thorgarn standing there watching and looking in and just seeing this sort of inky mass that's inside this box.
Thorgarn, are you okay?
Fine. What was that?
I don't know. You sure you're fine?
I think so. I don't appear any worse for wear, right?
So I slammed the box shut.
And so this is what you're trying to woo someone with?
I don't know.
Well, didn't you say she rejected this?
She must have known somehow. Thank God. Thank Eldath.
Well, the gods do work in mysterious ways, as I well know.
You've got to help me.
I'll continue doing what I do.
Eldath has allowed me to keep my powers for now, but what if Eldath takes my divinity away, takes my powers away? What am I going to do?
Well, you still know how to use that sword.
Yes.
But
I don't want to go back.
Well,
I don't want to go back to being just who I was.
the powers that the gods give us only make us more of who we are. They don't change who we are.
It's changed me. The power just flows through me. I can't go back to being normal.
Well, then you have to see what it is about who you are and the tenets of Eldath, and make sure that your actions speak true to what Eldath is a he, right? Or she?
She.
So what she has chosen you for, so that you can continue down this path and not fear. But if you fear losing these powers, if it's that important, it's that much easier for them to be taken from you.
Does that make me conceited? Does that make me not worthy?
It makes you less worthy. I don't know about not worthy, but use the use the power, use the thoughts that you know are to be right and true, and stick true to your beliefs, the things that Eldath upholds.
That is good counsel, brother. I've got to go.
Sure.
So Griveth leaves. He moves to the temple, and he essentially becomes a penitent for the entire rest of the time that you guys never see him. Like, he's gone for the entire time that you guys are in town.
I need you to do a couple of things then.
Mm-hmm.
So, in going to the temple, the temple here in Blazingdale is an All Faiths temple, and I believe you had been there before and had talked to the priest there.
I had, yeah.
Who is Sister Alonza, a female human priest. And she takes you in and watches over you for the rest of this time. And she keeps a close eye on you. It's no matter what you do, even if you just remain penitent and you more or less live a cloistered monk's lifestyle of staying at the temple, praying, handling chores, whatever you do, if you look around, Sister Alonza is always there keeping an eye on you, or an acolyte is. There's a point where Thorgarn comes to talk to Sister Alonza, but they go into a private chamber to have a discussion. Griveth, I need you to make... You're going to have to make a wisdom saving throw for each week. Okay. You've already succeeded on the first week.
Okay.
So I need you to make another wisdom saving throw for the second week.
Okay, 21.
All right, so for the third week, I want you to make a saving throw at advantage.
Okay. 24.
Fourth one will also be at advantage.
That is a 14. Oh, that was advantage. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay. That is a 21.
All right. And the fifth one will also be at advantage.
Okay, nice. 20.
Wow, this was a fairly high DC, but you managed to beat it every time. At the end of the time that you are here, Sister Alonza tells you that she's been keeping an eye on you. She's been praying for and over you. And she believes, based on the smell of death, that you are affected by some form of corruption. And it's beyond her ability to be able to assist you with this. But she's the one that sort of kind of rouses you from your penitent state and tells you that if you meet up with the rest of your friends who are being summoned to the council chambers, she believes that the task that will be set before you will lead you somewhere where you can get the help you need. And she says that you were wise to put trust in Thorgarn. That Thorgarn is concerned for you, and that it's possible as Thorgarn grows in his faith, even he may be able to help you. And so that kind of is going to take us through the downtime for Griveth. Just prior to, I'll leave it up to you, Ted, if it was something you would rather do, that Thorgarn would do before being summoned to the council, or would he do it kind of as they're summoned to the council?
Wherever you think it best fits, dramatically. I'm even, it's like, I know we'll be together at some point in time, so it's where the moment feels right.
I think it's kind of, this is the time with everybody, especially with Griveth kind of having cloistered himself away in the temple. Everybody's off. Every time you try to find Fig, he's in the library buried in books and doesn't even hear your voice when you're talking to him. Talmud has been working with the dwarven expeditions, assembling to go into Kundrakar. Cantriel hasn't been around for a while. Eventually you are all summoned to the council chambers by not Constable Whitewood, Sir Miles Barrick, whom I don't know if you guys had more than a single conversation with him. If that, you had always dealt directly with Constable Dara Whitewood and Sergeant Kuln of the town militia. But now that things seem to have settled down and you guys dispatched the orcs, things have been peaceful for the last month. Sir Miles Barrick is a male human of nobility that also happens to be Blazingdale's mayor. And he is the one who has summoned you all for a very important meeting at the council chambers. As you all arrive at various times, eventually the five of you are all there. And the attendant, I imagine Griveth is probably the last one to make his way in there. The attendant, after showing Griveth in, just says, I'm told that it would be approximately 13 minutes, and the mayor will see you. Please help yourself to refreshments. There is food and beverage available, and there's just simple pitcher of water, some mugs, there's a meat and cheese platter, some fruit, cruditas. It's a nice, it's a conference room meeting with assorted snacks laid out for you. So this would be a perfect time for you to do what you're going to do.
So, if we're all, kind of getting here, I realize that I've put some work into doing this. So I would have, as soon as I heard word that, we're all being summoned, I would have tried to been, the first one there. And we spent a lot of time, clustered together underground, traveling together. And, we've already established that, we're really, an adventuring party, but we're a family, or at least they are all to Thorgarn. So as each one arrives, it's been now more time, probably even more than double the time we spent together that we've now been apart. So it's an exuberant greeting for, each and every one of you. And then when, Griveth finally arrives, He's like, all right, great, we're all here. And off in the corner, he kind of grabs a small sack and drags it over, or pulls it over, and he pulls out a bracer and hands it to each and every one of you. Hard leather on the one side with soft straps, and then just beautifully worked steel, and in there is kind of a imagery over the course of the entire bracer. There is an anvil, there is a waterfall, there is a gear that looks like there's energy, warping around it. There is a string of music notes, and then there is a very specific maul. I know what Gerta looks like, so I didn't have to go steal an image to try and emulate her. My artistry sucks, but this is kind of what I had put together, and I hand one, for each of you. The call of Moradin is to that of the forge, that of the anvil, and I felt, as we've spent so much time together, it's time for all of us to kind of have something that shows of what we are and who we are. And I hope that my skills are enough that each of you would wear this, so that we are indeed more than just a name, but we have a symbol. So did Sister Alonza say what she did with them?
She only told you that she had beseeched specifically Eldath and Moradin to lay their blessings upon these bracers.
So I took the bracers to the All Faiths Temple, and Sister Alonza, more potent in the divine craft than myself, specifically called out to Moradin and to Eldath to lay a blessing upon them. I don't know whether it's just a pittance, whether there's any lasting enchantments upon it, but we at least have spoken to those gods, and perhaps they've answered the call, and mayhaps more magics will be at our call later. So at that word, I begin, strapping mine to my left wrist and bid you all do as you will.
Does everybody wear the bracer that Thorgarn has crafted and had blessed?
Cantriel would actually hold her arm out, like hoping that he'd help her put it on. She's very, very touched by it.
And he will gladly do so. Now, Thorgarn is, knowing that he had ideas for this, the typical dwarven handshake, is that whole grasping forearms. So over the final dinner that we would have had before we went all our separate ways, he made sure to grasp hands with everybody, so that he had as good a measurement as he could possibly have had. So they all fit, pretty darn perfect.
Thank you, my friend. I should only wear mine when I don armor again.
Right. Thank you, cousin. This is beautiful. I didn't know you were capable of making such finery.
Yes, I shall treasure this.
That is through Moradin's blessing upon the power that he has granted. I was more of a dabbler in the brewing than the smithing, but I knew I wanted to take up the arts at some point. And for my first real foray, I'm quite happy with the results. And he'll hold himself up to his full, not quite 4 foot height.
Well, you should be proud. It shows a lot of thought in each of it.
Peace and love be with you all.
Talmud kind of eyes Griveth uneasily for like a long moment. And then he turns towards where they have this like pitcher of water, and he kind of like checks all of them before he finally like tries to flag down somebody who looks like they're here to, to serve the drinks and the water and whatnot. Excuse me, none of these are ale. We're going to need ale.
I've kind of got that covered too, cousin. And he pulls out from his backpack, and he pulls out. Well, this is what I've been doing when I wasn't at the forge. I said I kind of dabbled in brewing before. The innkeeper is gonna put this on tap, and I go over and grab a handful of cups or mugs, whatever is on the table. We now have a Dawnbringers ale, and I bring it to anybody who wants a cup.
Talmud's the first in line. Smacking his lips. Yes, please. I'll take some.
It's not Kurgan. It's not gonna, leave you on the floor, but it's good stuff.
It's meeting ale.
Well, it seems like your endeavors over the past few weeks have been quite fruitful. And I hope that everyone else's was quite constructive. I missed you all quite terribly. It wasn't the same.
It definitely missed you all as well.
Yes, other creatures are quite strange. There was a cat. I think they cheated me out of quite a bit of money, but...
Wait. You lost money to a cat?
Well, it was a tabaxi. That is what...
Are there tabaxi regularly in Blazingdale?
Not regularly, no.
So would that be like rare, or that would be like you not have heard of them?
Make a history check. We'll leave it up to the fate of the dice.
That's what I wanted to hear.
While you're doing that, Scotty,
okay.
You need to switch where it says who you're sending your chat messages to everyone, because you're still sending private messages to me that you're intending for the group.
I finally figured that out, yes.
I looked over and I noticed you keep sending stuff to me, and I'm like, no. Okay.
I do that kind of stuff all the time.
I had no idea. I was like...
And Megan, your mic is sounding a little quiet.
So I apparently have an idea of what a tabaxi is, because it's a 19 on history check.
Ooh, it was a DC 20. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't. Great. Excellent.
No, you've heard of tabaxi, and they're not so rare that it's unusual. Like, oh, wow, I've got to see this. It's just unusual for tabaxi to be seen this far north. They're not from this area, and but I mean, Blazingdale is kind of located midway between Luskin and Mirabar, north of the Desserin Valley. So it's not unheard of. There's a few people that make their way up in this area.
So Fig, there's definitely a difference between a tabaxi, which is like a cat person, and a cat. So I was pretty impressed to hear that you were gambling with a cat, and the cat was gambling back. But the fact that you lost comes across as really bad.
That would be quite embarrassing. No, it was they could talk, so I assume they had a base level of intelligence, and they helped me quite a bit.
Well, it's a It's an unfair assumption. Just because it can talk doesn't necessarily mean it has a base level intelligence. I mean, take that great oaf that we killed in the stronghold. He could talk, but he was pretty dumb.
I suppose you are right. And you just see Fig just like scribble something down in his notes.
About this time, the door at the far end of the council chambers opens, and a tall gentleman, human, dressed in very fine robes, looks to be in his mid to late 40s, comes walking in along with a very severe looking female dwarf. And Talmud and Thorgarn, you do not recognize this dwarf woman. And you actually can tell by her complexion, and possibly even by the style of her clothing, that she is not from around here. She is not a Northern Sword Coast dwarf, or any of the regions. You're not. Well, actually, both of you make me a history check. And I'll say do so with advantage because of your dwarven heritage. And actually, anybody who wants to could make a history check straight roll to see if you recognize anything in particular about this dwarf.
My character should not have this many successful history checks in one game. It's an 18.
Get them all out of the way now.
Also an 18.
12. Sorry, V.
Got a dirty 20.
All right, Scotty, did you make a check?
I'm contemplating the mysteries of the universe.
So anybody that got over a 15 recognizes that this dwarven woman is from across the sea, from the lands far to the west. It's very unusual that a dwarf from across the sea would be here in this region. As they make their way into the room, the mayor walks in, Sir Miles Barrick. Ah, yes, it's absolutely wonderful that you're all here. I have been looking forward to meeting all of you. Please understand, and I believe that Constable Whitewood and the others have made it perfectly clear that we, the people of Blazingdale, are eternally grateful to what you have done for us. And I mean this with the utmost sincerity. You have the full gratitude of the city and of me personally. I am, of course, Mayor Barrick.
It's a pleasure. Eternally grateful sounds pretty nice.
Well, it is a great service you have done, stopping the orc incursions, and apparently you've done a significant deed for the dwarves in allowing them to take over this, I believe it was called Kundraker? I'm sorry, the dwarven language is quite a mouthful at times. I do apologize. I mean no offense by it.
None taken.
But I can say that it is, of course, this deed that you have done for the dwarves in particular, which is why I have called you here today. Allow me to introduce, from across the sea in the land of Kaoland, I would like you all to please meet Manistrad Copperlocks. And the dwarven woman simply gives a curt nod.
Tis a pleasure.
She looks again, gives you another curt nod. She looks around at all of you, her eyes momentarily widening, almost like an eyebrow arching, and looking at Fig, kind of. As she looks at Thorgarn and Talmud, she seems to be sizing you up, and seems to just kind of be giving a approving nod. She looks over at Cantriel, looks up and down, arches an eyebrow at the fairy dragon, and then arches an eyebrow again at Fig, looks over at Griveth, and barely gives him a glance.
So I would guess that Griveth and I are like an absolute contrast at this moment, because he's like, when he puts his armor on. So I'm interpreting that he's like here in like just regular clothes, and he's acting serene and what have you, where like I don't de-adventure, so like I've got a new suit of armor that's on. I've still got all of my weapons strapped to my back, and at the moment I've actually got a mug of ale in my hand and a bottle in the other.
Essentially, I've got just my holy symbol, my silver holy symbol around my neck, and a white bathrobe.
The dude abides. So this is enough that she doesn't seem to be paying too close of attention. And then to Griveth. And then she looks over at Mayor Barrick. I was told that we would do whatever we could to get this underway. I've already been in this town for a month. We've gathered all the resources. We've gathered all the personnel. We need to be getting underway. Right. I'm absolutely sorry. Menestrol is correct. Please, everybody, have a seat. Would you prefer that I tell them, or please allow me to do this? All of you have come highly recommended, in particular by the patron figure of the Dawn clan. I believe is a relation to you. I'm assuming you are the ones they called Talmud.
Aye.
Which, of course, would make you Thorgarn. You both have come very highly recommended by the dwarven community. And I am very pleased to have you be a part of what I will outline for you in a moment. Cantriel, I assume, the elf. I'm told that though a bit of mystery surrounds you, that you are also very capable. Fig, is it? I believe there was something about a more proper, longer name, but Fig will suffice. I prefer those who get straight to the point. I'm not going to lie, that you are going to stand out where we are going. It is very unusual, and please understand, I do not mean any sort of offense to you, and I hope you do not take any, but you will stand out like a drow in the sunlight.
Is it because I'm so tall?
No.
That was an attempt at a joke. I realize
we are perhaps going to be spending a bit of time together. You will find that while I appreciate those who joke amongst themselves, I prefer those who talk straight.
I totally assume that when Fig said that Talmud was drinking, and whatever was in front of him is now covered in a thing of ale.
It's going to be a long trip.
She turns to Mayor Barrick and then kind of motions over towards Griveth. Are you certain about this one? I was told that he was a powerful warrior, paladin of sorts, but he looks like a lieabout, or I'm not entirely sure. Why does he keep holding his hands out and staring up into the sky? The mayor just sort of shrugs. He's with them? Whatever. Please, hear me out. Blazingdale dwarves have been assigned to come with me, or rather, I say assigned, the ones have been chosen, have been officially signed to the books. I represent a mining operation across the sea that is royally sanctioned by the king himself, the king of Kaoland, a man whose authority is absolutely recognized throughout the land. And I will tell you his name in just a moment. Where did it go? This is what happens when you're jumping between two modules. All right, I will tell you his name after the break, when we break in just a little bit, or if it shows up. But for now, she just refers to him as the king. There we go.
His name is His Majesty.
Yes, that. See, you understand how it works. Though he may not be a dwarf, he is, of course, the king, and the rightful king. We have been sent to establish mining operations in a region called Saltmarsh. The king wishes to expand that operation and that town to become a bit of a more, a larger hub for trade in the region. The king himself has been taken further north in Kaoland, dealing with the armies there and the warring factions that are far to the north. But this Saltmarsh region, well, we have found very promising yields of silver, and I believe that as we dig deeper, that those veins will grow richer and we will find more. The reason that I have come seeking additional resources is that well, the dwarven contingent that we have in the Saltmarsh right now are facing a bit of opposition from the traditionalists. There are a bit of traditional fisher folk in the region that cling to the old ways of life, and they see the king's involvement in the expansion of the mining operations and such as threatening their status quo, as it were. Now, it's not become so very dangerous to date, but we would like to bolster our forces with more dwarves to increase the yield of the mine. So Blazingdale and the mayor and the volunteers in number approximately 25 dwarves that will be coming from Blazingdale to the Saltmarsh with us. But I need allies, and I need people that can watch over our interests. Now, you all have come very highly recommended, and again she kind of just glances over at you, Griveth, with a bit of a cocked eyebrow. I am told that you are, well, your reputation precedes you, I will say this. I had already begun to hear this name that I believe you call yourselves, the Dawnbringers, had reached my ears all the way in Saltmarsh, by way of the mercantile vessels. So your reputation precedes you. That was both awesome and creepy, Scotty. It's like, why is he getting up so slowly? So while in the region, you would, of course, be free to explore your own interests. There is much to do and see over there. There's a burgeoning magic trade over there. If slaying monsters is your thing, then of course there are monsters in the meres and marshes and woods that surround the area. There are supposedly there's some sort of haunted house in the region. I don't know. I don't believe in ghosts and such. All I know is that we need you, and we would like to. The mine, and on behalf of the king, would like to hold you on retainer for the sum of 500 gold pieces per week that you are in the region. That is just to secure your services. That should we need you for protection at the mine or to send you on certain jobs, that you would receive this 500 per week. There would of course be bonuses and such depending on your activities.
Just to kind of clarify, that's 500 for the lot of us, or 500 each?
The number that I said was 500, not 2,500.
Just making sure. You know how
yes.
Dwarves and gold and.
Yes, it is very important to make that distinction, and I appreciate your clarification on that. But please understand, yes, it is 500 for you to divvy up amongst yourselves however you see fit, based on merit or, again, a glance at Griveth, deserving.
And one other point while we're making clarifications, we're being paid to shake down the locals and run them off of their land. Or at least make them more pliable.
She sort of looks at you, almost taken aback, glances at the mayor, and says, I thought you said they were heroes. Talmud, please understand, we are not trying to run people off of their land. The king has rightful eminence in this region and has claimed the mine itself for the kingdom, but we are not running anybody off of their land. The mine is well established. We are simply trying to stop those who hold to the old and traditional ways from interfering with the king's mining operation. So please do not shake down the locals. The local law enforcement would have things and words to say about that. Please tell me this does not make you not want to come.
Well, it's not exactly what I would look forward to doing.
But Talmud,
whatever you may call it.
Talmud, it's talking about slaying monsters and
that I'm on board for.
Ghost house and protecting a mine. I mean, that's a lot of dwarven stuff out there, and 500 gold a week is better than 25 gold an orc year.
It's true.
Well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually agreeing with Talmud on this one. I'm not exactly thrilled about the idea of making locals feel like that we're there to intimidate.
Again, you completely misconstrue, and it is my fault for not framing this in the proper way. The locals, you must understand that I am also a local, though not local to Saltmarsh itself, but to the region. The entire region is under the domain of the king himself. They are all his loyal subjects. Some are more loyal than others. I would like to have you to accompany me in the region on behalf of the mining operations for the king. You would not be hired muscle that would walk around flexing your muscles and threatening anybody that looks at us. You would be there in the region, held on retainer, to seek your own interests. And there are lots of things that you can do in the region. There are there are fishing vessels. There are constantly salvage operations taking place. Vessels that are sunk, some that have treasure on them, always offering a lot of coin. As I said, there is a burgeoning magical trade in the region. There is... Please do not take offense at this, she says to the mayor. The region is very prosperous. Even for a fishing village, there is a large... The economy is quite well over there. I will say this. There's lots of work to be had. There are mysteries to be solved. People to help, namely amongst ourselves, but Converse, I will pay you a bonus of 500 gold in advance. You come to Saltmarsh and you commit to stay for, say, 2 weeks. That is another 1,000 gold pieces. If you're unhappy with the way things are going, then you may book passage back here to the Sword Coast, if that is what you wish.
Do you want to... Yeah, I turn to the group. Do we want to take a moment and discuss this amongst ourselves?
Probably for the best, rather than assume we're all thinking the same thing and then magically discover that wasn't the case.
Here's what we'll do. It is now, I think, we'll say that it's early afternoon. You take as much time as you need for the rest of the day. In the morning, at the 10th hour of the morning, our operation will be loading up into wagons, and we will be traveling the 3 days alongside the river to Loskin, where a ship awaits us. Now, the land of Caroland is quite a sailing journey across the ocean, the sea of shining stars. But this vessel and its captain are something else to behold. That in itself should be worthy of being paid a handsome sum to go on the sea voyage. Seek me out, join us here where will be staging to leave, if you will accompany. If you will not, I will hire heroes elsewhere. And a man called the Dungeon Master would be very upset that you did not take his adventure hook. That last part, I'm just kidding. So please, speak amongst yourselves. And I hope to see you in the morning. She stands up, she gives a curt nod, one last look at Griveth, and she starts to walk out, and the mayor just says, please, I don't know what I can do to sway you, but I will say this. If the Dawnbringers accompany the mining operation, it can only reflect well on Blazing Dell. We are in an upturn after what we have been experiencing, and with the dwarves taking over the Stone Tooth and the Kundrukar, with the orcs no longer affecting the town, we will soon be prospering as well. And I can only hope that some of the miners that are helping will bring some of that prosperity back here to Blazing Dell. Please, if for no other reason, and he's looking directly at you, Thorgarn and Talmud, please keep your dwarven kin and their safety in your mind. They are not adventurers, they are not heroes, they are working men and women. And then he sort of shuffles out of the room and leaves you all to what you are doing, to your discussions. Do you want to have your discussion now, or would you like to have your discussion after a break? V's like, after. I just happened to glance and see that it is our normal break time. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a break right there. We'll come back and let the party discuss amongst themselves and see what happens. Please stick around through the break. We've got some announcements and such that take place on a video during the break. And I will remind you, type in !Nerdarchy in the chat, and a link will pop up and you will be taken to the fantastic Kickstarter that is taking place right now. Check it out and see if it's something that you would want to back. We will be right back after these messages. Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is The Intermission. Mini Terrain Domain, or MTD, is a channel dedicated to the love of and participation in the world of tabletop role-playing games. Whether we're designing encounters or miniature terrain, building worlds or dice towers, or just playing games, everything we do here is because we love this amazing hobby. That is why the mission statement of Mini Terrain Domain is simply imagine, build, play. If you like to watch live play or actual play D&D games, you can do so at twitch.tv/Mini Terrain Domain 3 days a week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. On Sundays, you can join us for Cult of Personality, a long-running campaign set in the Tomb of Annihilation adventure setting. On Mondays, you can join us for All That Glitters, a Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign guaranteed to be epic proportions. And every Thursday night, you can join us for Dawnbringers, the Forge of Fury. This is a series of mini campaigns going across the gamut of several well-known modules. Season 1, which is available on youtube.com/Mini Terrain Domain, took place in the Sunless Citadel, and Season 2 is currently taking place the Forge of Fury. If you can't join us in the chat for our live shows, that's okay. You can usually catch the roleplay, or rather the replay, on YouTube just 2 days later. If you're a fan of what we do here and you'd like to support what we do, there are a variety of ways you can do this. First, simply follow the Twitch channel or hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Next, make sure you follow all of the participants of each game or show on their various social media platforms. To do this, if you're watching live with us on Twitch, you can simply type an exclamation point and that person's name into the Twitch chat, or on YouTube, you can look down below the information bar and all of their links can be found there. Finally, if you would like to provide monetary support, which flows right back into the production of the channel so we can continue making great content, you can join the growing list of patrons on Patreon. Additionally, you can also use Ko-Fi or Coffee to buy a coffee or two. I like coffee. But the absolute best way to support the channel is to follow and subscribe on Twitch and YouTube and join us in the chat. If you have an Amazon Prime account and you link it to your Twitch account, you can subscribe to one channel per month absolutely free. No matter what you decide to do, we are just happy to have you here. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more great content in just a few moments. Remember, metadata!
Hi everyone, I'm V, and I have the YouTube channel, The Crafting Muse. Please be sure to go over there and check it out if you too would like to learn how to make some tabletop terrain, paint miniatures, as well as some game accessories. I'm always happy to have new subscribers over there.
Learn the ways of the Game Master, the Dungeon Master, and delve into the minds of the players. If you're looking for adventure, excitement, thrills, and a dice-rolling good time, grab the modules each month and play the campaign with your gaming group with quest givers DM Scotty and DMG. They're taking you on an epic journey through the role-playing experience every Friday. You're sure to get hooked on adventure.
And we really liked the idea of creating adventures together, so we thought that'd be a lot of fun to share with you guys.
I didn't think this kind of stuff would come out of my brain. We are quest givers, and I'll see you in the next video.
Adventure Mixtape, a music and adventure anthology, is a collection of 4 adventures for the 5th edition of the world's most popular role-playing game. The adventures are setting neutral and meant to be seamlessly dropped into any world that has a large seaside city and a jungle environment. With a bit of adaptation, the environments could be changed to suit any group. In Treaty of the Tiger King by Kelsey Dion of the Arcane Library, a distant king arrives at the city to negotiate the peaceful end of a war, but the mercenary guild has other insidious plans for him. Will the players be able to thwart assassination attempts against King Rami and help him negotiate circles of social intrigue in order to finally end the war? In Madness of the Majestic Menagerie by Ken Brees of Burling's Beard, the famous Majestic Menagerie draws hordes of visitors to the metropolis and cultural hub known since time immemorial as Splendor by the Sea. But now the gates of the famous zoo have been shut, and the grand opening of the new section has been jeopardized by a spate of mysterious accidents and, it's whispered, grievous injuries due to uncontrollable creatures. Mr. Majestic seeks to hire investigators and troubleshooters who can keep a low profile to iron out any problems before the impending grand opening becomes a complete disaster. Do you have what it takes to uncover what's driving the madness that's befallen the Majestic Menagerie? In The Infernal Collection by Sharang Biswas, when an influential fashion designer is found dead days before a major fashion show, heroes are called in to solve the mystery, prevent any further destruction, and help the fashion house prepare for the show. Gorillas in Their Midst by Jacob W. Norman of Mini Terrain Domain is a pulp action adventure wrought with perilous challenges and high possibility of death. But what is adventure without danger? Of course, there is the lure of vast piles of unclaimed treasure and the accompanying fame that await those intrepid adventurers who would defy the odds and plunge into the heart of darkness. In this adventure, the characters will face raging river rapids, wicked waterfalls, poisonous plants, venomous vines, sinking sands, treacherous traps, and the vicious jungle demon itself, Awakane Gori. Grab your satchels, fedoras, and bullwhips. Adventure awaits. The Adventure Mixtape also comes with 4 original songs inspired by and written for the heroic adventures herein. This collection of music and story is something unique. We had no better word for it than mixtape. If you ever received a cassette, CD, or digital playlist curated to take you on a memorable journey, then you'll recognize what you find inside this volume. Also included in the Adventure Mixtape, courtesy of Kelsey Dion of the Arcane Library, are exclusive combat cards. Special cards that contain all of the items, monsters, and spellcasters found within these adventures to make running your adventure all the more easier. Adventure Mixtape, a music and adventure anthology, is available exclusively on drivethrurpg.com.
Griveth, once home to the most wondrous kingdom the world had ever known, blasted to nothing in just a fortnight. It is here that the fiends of hell walk among us. It is here where all things die. Welcome to Griveth. Demon invaders roam the landscape and have conquered all. The world is a ravaged and wrathful wasteland, where the old world lies buried beneath the blood and sand with its gods and its secrets. Water is fought over with blood and steel. Compatible with the 5th edition of the world's oldest fantasy role-playing game, this book contains all new character creation options, including all of the familiar classes with new aspects befitting the ravaged wastelands of Griveth, along with new backgrounds, subclasses, spells, feats, and so much more. New races will allow you to play as the Cursed Ash Elves, the Forsaken Humans, the Primordial Incarnate, the Proud Orcs, the Reptilian Suri, or the Infernal-Blooded Tieflings. New game mechanics such as blood, grit, and effort give your games an intense focus on lethality and survival. Numerous roll tables full of ideas to help bring your games to life. Featuring incredible thematic art by Brandish Gilhelm of Gloomhammer Games, as well as Lloyd Collins. The people of Kryvoth are not heroes. In Kryvoth it is courage just to survive. Will you rise to face the tide of demons, or will you succumb to the hostile elements? Available now on DriveThruRPG.com.
And we're back. All right. So the dwarven woman from the west, from the mining operation, Manistrad Copperlocks, and Mayor Barrick have left you to discuss the plans to travel to Saltmarsh as they have been laid out before you. As the door closes behind them, you are all free to discuss amongst yourselves.
So I'm not certain we were all standing in the same room there. I heard her asking for heroes, monster slaying, treasure, and getting paid. And apparently you're hearing roughing up commoners.
Well, I'm also hearing her talking about a hero and a man who's been well recommended, and I see one in a bathrobe.
Do we want to be mercenary? Do we want to, you know, with the when we went to the mountain to fight the orcs, they had done injury to this town. They had hurt the people. But I agree with Talmud. Do we want to be mercenaries?
We're protecting miners. We're able to kill monsters and earn treasure and, you know, help build a town into a city. I think this sounds like a pretty darn profitable and fun adventure. I'm not excited about, you know, getting on a boat and going across the ocean, mind, but
well, it's invigorating. Meanwhile, Griveth, how many fingers am I holding up?
How many are you? No, really, how many are you?
Just the one.
Just the one. Just the one. No, not really. No, that was a weird wave coming out. Sorry about that.
I was like, you're really doing that?
No. Like sarcastically, she's holding up.
I will do whatever you want. I am with you, friends. If we go, we go. I am going with you.
You seem a little off today, Griveth.
Oh no, I am fine.
Yeah, you're not sounding the same or acting the
spirit.
same. You're not even wearing your armor.
Oh, I will don my armor before we leave. I'm sure it will come back to me.
I'm sorry. It's going to come back to you.
Oh, yes.
Like wander in on its own back to you, or you're going to go back to your room and don your armor?
It's like a reflex. It will come back.
How much?
I've fought my entire life. I don't even have to think about it. I'm just that good.
They don't expect you to drink the wine after the ceremonies, do they?
No, some faiths definitely imbibe more than others. some faiths imbibe more than others. I'll say that for a fact. But
so the problem that I have is, what do we do with these common folk who are resisting?
Outside of trying to convince them that change is not a bad thing, and that doesn't always go well.
Well, it depends upon the manner in which they're resisting. If they're just kind of like, being angry about it and talking, and no one's in jeopardy, then there's really nothing for us to do. That's on them. But if lives are in danger, if our folk, and I'm kind of lean more towards Talmud at that, who are going to work there, are in jeopardy, that's where we need to step in. That's where we need to deal with it. But I think they're asking more for us to have a presence and perhaps reputation, and that is more than enough to dissuade people from taking said action.
Right.
Perhaps it is good that we go and assess the situation for 2 weeks, as she has suggested, and we can make up our minds for ourselves.
Very astute, Fig. I agree.
I think
that sounds fair. Yes, but I will not hurt anyone.
I'm not looking to rough up commoners, and I'm right there with what she's saying, that they're looking for heroes. They're looking for people to make a difference, not for beating down people that are less powerful than ourselves. I'm not into that. It's not who I am. It's not my way. And it's certainly not what Moradin has laid before me. We don't come from an ancient dwarven citadel cleansing the land and having the avatars of our faith appear before us and converse, and then be shuffled off to the other side of the world and beat up the rabble for raising their voices. That's not where we'd be going.
Well, then it sounds like we're all in agreement on that.
Yes, I agree that with the rest of you, that we see. It sounds like they do need our help, so we see, but we don't compromise our principles.
And what are those principles of yours lately, Griveth?
The principles of peace and love.
What are your thoughts about evil?
I smash it! I mean, yes, I will end it. We will stop evil.
Ah, yeah, there's that. All right. Yes, that's there again. Great. All right.
Leans over to Thorgarn. How long is this boat ride supposed to be again?
It's too long. I can tell you that. I believe she used the word lengthy. Yeah.
Well, you've already been told that it's a 3-day caravan journey just to get to Luskin, where the ship is waiting.
Yeah, to get a lengthy journey across the ocean of the Sea of Shining Stars.
Fig, you, having done the research and having found the maps and encountered Saltmarsh region, you would know that this region, to travel across the sea, depending on the vessel, is going to take anywhere from it could take as little as 8 days of travel across the sea, or it could take as much as 30 days of travel across the sea.
And as I recall, when I was doing my research, I did find a map, right?
You found a map that indicated where Saltmarsh was, and it had I will tell you what some of the things that were on it were. So it did. Oh, Sorry, this is acting weird. What? There we go. So what there was this sort of this town of Saltmarsh located in a bay. There was an island called Abbey Island. There was a something called the Hool Marshes was in the northern region. There is a forest called the Silver Stand, and another forest a little further north called the Drowned Forest. And south, though you're not entirely sure on the scale on this map that you have, but south of this region called Saltmarsh is a inlet or outlet to a river where there is a place called Seaton.
So
Seaton.
Okay.
Not Satan. Already I can see the Hail Seaton jokes. Yeah, so those were things, I believe some of those I had told you in your downtime. Yes. I may have given you a couple extra ones just now, but that's fine. Yeah, so you know that it's going to be 8 to 30 days, depending on the vessel.
So I actually think that Fig would take out the map that he had found if he was allowed to. I actually think that he would try and take it, even if it wasn't his to take.
What are you taking?
The map, like from where he had found it, or where the Tabaxi had given him it, he would have brought it with him.
Okay. So you have a map that is okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, well, it's done. Whether it's right or not, you have it.
So, he would actually bring out the map and show. And he would say, I am actually wanting to go here as well for more selfish reasons. I had recently discovered that my master may have had some sort of sunken laboratory around these parts.
Well, that's definitely a carrot at the end then.
So I'm looking at the map. Our figure, you pointing out where we're at or where we're going?
Just where we're going.
So I'm trying to see if I can locate how far it is to, from Blazing Dell to, where he's pointing.
How
much blue? How intimidating is that?
There's a lot of blue.
So
there's more blue traveling in the direction westward from where you are to this region than there is land that you know of to the east.
That's an awful lot of water there.
It could take between 8 and 30 days.
Well, that sounds invigorating.
Another spit take from Talmud.
I don't know so much about invigorating. Not a whole lot of space to move on a ship.
I must say I am not a fan of the water either, but it is better to be on top of it than in it for 2 years.
I would completely agree with that, yes.
Yeah, that's a safe statement. All right,
so I'm all for helping. Doubly so to help out our friend and companion Fig. I'm just gonna have to make sure I bring a little bit more ale for the trip across the sea, because I'm not gonna be completely thrilled about that.
Cantriel.
Yes.
With your incredibly high passive perception,
mm-hmm.
you actually pick up a bit of a commotion taking place outside the door. You hear voices muffled. One voice seems insistent. The other voice also seems insistent, but in opposition. One of the voices that you hear has a slightly, it seems to resonate a little higher than the other one, partly because it keeps cracking every once in a while and has a certain familiarity to it. Big thank you to Quinian BC, who just gifted 5 subscriptions through the channel and earned you guys 5 more domain dice. Give me a quick insight check at advantage to see if you can determine whose voice this is exactly. What'd you get?
16.
You hear the insistent voice of your friend from Oakhurst, Baron, the young lad, and you can just barely hear as he's saying, "No, I know them. Trust me, they let me in. No, no, no. They are not to be disturbed. I have it on order of the mayor. I know them and I have a package for one of them."
I would immediately walk over to the door and just open it. Do we have an issue here?
Miss Cantriel, this moron won't let me in. I have a package for Mr. Griveth.
All right, Baron darling, why don't you come in? And he does know us.
The attendant that was standing outside just kind of looks back and forth. But Mayor Barrick said that you are not to be disturbed by anyone.
Well, you're doing the disturbing, dear.
Baron just sort of raises his chin, looks over at this other individual with just a look of, huh. And sort of, I imagine as you just sort of allow him by, he's carrying a, he seems to be almost struggling with it. He picks up this heavy wooden crate and sort of ambles through, slides past you with it as he walks in. "Oh, there you are, Mr. Griveth. I've been looking all over the place trying to find you. I've got this package for you. Oh, hey, Talmud, how you doing?"
I'm good, Baron. How are you?
Oh, I've been doing all right. I've been keeping busy around the town while you guys were gone.
Are you getting stronger?
Well, I guess I am. He actually looks like he has gotten a bit stronger. His skin is more tan, and he just seems to like he's struggling with this box, but not nearly as much as before. And you'd probably even notice that he hasn't tripped once with this box. He's walked in perfectly fine, and he sort of struggles a moment to set it up on the edge of the table by Griveth, and then sort of yes, sorry, that was a little bit heavier. Okay, Sister Alonza, this has arrived. She wanted me to deliver it to you, Griveth. It came all the way from Oakhurst.
Well, thank you, son.
No, it's absolutely an honor to be able to deliver it to you. And he sort of steps back and just kind of takes another step back and just kind of stands. He kind of positions himself so I mean, the whole room is illuminated decently, but so that he's in kind of the shadowy part of the room, almost like he's trying to just not be seen, as he steps to the back and puts his hands behind his back and sort of stands like an attendant.
Well, let's see what this package is.
All right, so you're going to open the box up. You open the crate, and inside is a lot of, initially you just see a lot of straw. But you see something as you start to move the straw. You see something white and almost pearlescent shimmer from beneath the straw, and it is a complete set of exactly what you think it is. So it's up to you if you pull it out here or.
Okay, I'm gonna
regret these words. I'm not gonna regret these words, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Scotty.
I'm gonna pull it out here.
Well, now I regret those words. Phrasing.
So you see Griveth. You guys can't see. The dwarves can't see very well because they're short. You guys, Griveth's hulking form is kind of over the box, so it's hard to see what he's. But he just kind of like strokes down, and you see these kind of glistenings in the box. He just kind of strokes down on something, and then you see in his eye just that kind of like the battle lust that you've come to know so well from Griveth, you know, kind of spark in his eye. And he stands up to his full height of 6.5, huffs out his chest, pulls back his robe, and just drops it to the floor. But he does have a loincloth on, so that's good.
Okay, I was having a very Silence of the Lambs Buffalo Bill moment there.
And you hear kind of, as he grabs whatever's in the box, you kind of hear a ch-ch, almost like water. Like the sound of like, almost like water. And then he pulls it out, and it's this very fine shirt of white dragon scale armor, and he puts it on over his head. So he's got this magnificent dragon scale armor on, shirt on, and with his loincloth.
The rest of the armor is there.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I did say it's a full set.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. So, I'm ready for battle, friends. When do we go? Oh wait, I should put my pants on.
When you put your pants on.
And some of you may remember that Griveth had collected a certain dragon's hide, and it did take quite some time. It's been actually ever since, if I'm not mistaken, with the downtime at the end, it's been almost 2 months since you commissioned this armor. You suddenly hear from the shadows, Baron can't even contain himself as he just gasps in awe. I had no idea it was so magnificent. Sister Alonza wanted me to tell you that the Church of Aldath has paid for the commission for you. This is dragon scale, white dragon scale armor. Griveth, while you wear this armor, you have a where did it go? You have, oh, here it is. While you wear this armor, you have a +1 to your armor class. You are resistant to cold damage. You have advantage on save versus the dragon's frightful presence and breath weapon, and that's for all dragons.
Oh, wow.
And once per day, you can focus as an action and magically learn the distance and direction of the nearest white dragon within 30 miles. So, mechanically, it takes about 10 minutes to don armor. And as Griveth is donning this armor, this is a moment to tell you all that I'm going to tell you now. You would eventually figure this out. Your bracers that Thorgarn crafted and had blessed by the temple for you, each one of you, it is a magical item, but it does not require attunement. It is almost like a boon, and the same effect applies to all 5 of you. While you wear your bracer, once per day, you may use legendary wisdom. That means once per day, if you fail a wisdom saving throw, you may choose to instead succeed on that wisdom saving throw. It only applies to yourself, and once you use it, you can't use it again until the next dawn. So I will actually create those bracers for you and add them to your character sheets later on, because I'll have to create those as homebrew, and I want to take Ted's sketch and create actual graphics for you guys. And Scotty, if you just look up in D&D Beyond, look up dragon scale armor, and apply that, it should give you the option to add that it's white dragon scale armor.
And you'll certainly want to have a better artist than I kind of do a rendition of that, because my drawing sucks. I attempted to have somebody do it for me, and he got like 3/5 of the way through and then decided to stop. So I'm like, okay, well, thanks for the effort.
It's what I do. It's what I do. So I will, I'll make up the items for those. So it sounds like you all have come to a consensus that you would meet up, decide that you're going to meet up with Manistrad and the delegation, or not delegation, rather the miners that are going along, 25 dwarven miners. It's safe to say, Jeremy, did you have something to say?
Yeah, Talmud wants to procure some kind of sedative to take with him. Some kind of...
You have 7 bottles of Kiergan.
A cheaper form of sedative.
That's enough for like 2 or 3 days. That's about it. Considering how the rolls were.
Give me an investigation check.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm going to spend a domain die.
Sure, why not? You got a bunch.
All right, so that's a 5 with advantage on the die.
Okay.
So that's
you
4 total.
in trying to procure, you're talking to some people, trying to find some form of sedative, and at most, what you end up hearing is from a bunch of the dwarven matrons is old dwarven matrons recipes for homebrew sedatives. One of them that tells you to brew up some mint leaves in hot water under a full moon, add lemon. Another that tells you that you should take a few coils of catgut that is normally used to string a bow, either a bow or a violin or fiddle bow, that you should take a few coils of that and chew it, keeping it under your tongue while you sleep. A lot of these kind of things. You do eventually run into a tabaxi merchant that says, I think I can help you out with what it is you are looking for just 10 gold. I will give you a sedative. It comes in a powder form. You simply mix it into a drink, and you will be sleeping in no time.
10 gold pieces for how many doses?
How many doses is entirely up to you. Do you want to sleep for a day? Take just a pinch. Do you want to sleep for a week? Take a very big pinch. Do you want to sleep for 2 weeks? Take the whole thing.
All right. Well, and 10 gold pieces it is. He happily hands over the coin.
And the tabaxi hands you a piece of parchment that is folded over, that sort of a makeshift envelope sealed with wax. And there is a fine powder that's sifted in there. So you may add a powdered sedative to your inventory and take 10 gold away. So you are all able to gather your belongings. You meet up with Manistrad Copperlocks, the 25 dwarves. There are about 10 wagons of supplies. Blazing Dell does have its own small mining operation. There's 10 wagons loaded down with supplies of various mining supplies, picks, shovels, timber for scaffolding, all kinds of things, as well as the belongings of some of these dwarves, most of whom have relegated their belongings to a single rucksack. And the 3-day journey to Luskin, you travel along the river. It goes uneventfully. This is a pretty well-traveled road between Luskin and Mirabar. You actually encounter a few travelers moving back and forth, and there are even armed guards, dwarven guards that move between Luskin and Mirabar, patrolling this region. So your journey to Luskin is pretty uneventful. Is there anything you guys would like to do in particular during this journey, or just focus on the travel at hand?
So I don't need to get into all the details, but I want to definitely go and find out specifically what each of my companions had done during their time off, and kind of share some of my experiences and whatnot that I had. With Moradin being the god of crafting, and specifically the forge, but crafting in general, and make sure that everybody's had a chance to really make sure the bracer fits, and see if they wanted to drink any more of the Dawnbringers ale, or what have you.
I think at some point, Talmud would try to find time where he and Fig could be alone for a moment.
Okay. Certainly that's capable of being done over these 3 days of journey.
And he kind of approaches Fig, kind of scratching his neck and obviously uncomfortable. So, Fig, this place where we're going, this is where you're from, where you were made?
I don't think so, but I am not sure. To be honest, my memory of when they brought me up from the water is very, very dark. I'm not really sure where I came from.
But us going, it might help you figure out who you really are, where you actually come from.
Yes, I believe so.
Good. Okay, good. Talmud seems to be kind of almost relieved about this knowledge. It would be good to know who you are.
Does where I come from concern you a lot?
No. No, I just understand what it's like to not entirely know who you are, and to want to get to the bottom of that,
Are you not from Blazing Dell? I'm sorry, that was just an assumption that I had made.
No, I'm from Blazing Dell. I just there's a lot of time that I can't account for. The ancestors that you may have met, sometimes they take over. There are times when it lasts longer than others, and sometimes I'm not sure what I've done or what they've done, if that makes sense.
Yes. If you remember when we were in and the thing, I'm not sure what it is called technically, its name, it took over my body for a while. I'm not sure. It was trying to kiss Griveth. I was very confused. But you feel very scared. I think that is the right term for it. Frightened. Unsure.
Yes, uncertain, worried. I think I may have hurt some of the rest of us. I think I may have hurt you, but it wasn't me. Anyways, I'm very thankful that hopefully we'll get to the bottom of who you are.
Would you help me with something? He's kind of quiet for a while before he says that, and I can almost imagine that you almost turn to leave, and he brings out this picture of the diagram of his head, and it looks like it opens in some way, but a lot of the picture is very, very destroyed. And if you look, you can even see that there are scratches at some of the different connecting parts to his head that were not there before. Like deep gashes. I have found this, and it is quite curious to me that there might be something inside my head.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can see that with this drawing. How can I help?
I can see that it opens. But you're a dwarf. You know how to build things. You should know how to take them apart.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first skull I've taken apart, but I don't know if my method is quite as finessed for what you're looking for. I can certainly try.
Yes, I would appreciate that very much. I feel like I am quite hardy. I have fallen apart many times and have always come back together. But this is something that I would like to know, and I feel like perhaps you and Thorgarn might be able to help me.
Well, I would love to try. Now or?
No.
Oh.
No. Perhaps, when you are awake on the ship, maybe? Take your mind off of it?
There may not be, that may be a small window of time, but you have my word.
I thank you.
And thank you, Fig. You are, Thorgarn is right. You're quite remarkable, really. Something else entirely.
And you don't see it because Fig can't show any expression, but you can just tell by his body language, I think from spending time with him, he's smiling if he could.
Thorgarn, at some point on the first day, probably pretty early on, Manistrad Copperlocks would have approached you and just thanked you all for coming, and she would have handed you a large leather pouch containing 500 gold pieces. As promised, your 500 gold pieces in advance.
Not sure why you're giving this to me, but sure, I'll divvy this up amongst the lot of us. So
what you do with it is entirely up to you.
What do you know why we were recommended so highly? Was it, the character or just the clearing out of the Kundrakar.
Your reputation is already beginning to precede you. I've heard of your deeds in Oakhurst as well.
Yeah, that was some of us. We all weren't there, but those that were, they got some fine tales of that place.
Well, you, Thorgarn, of all, should know that the deeds of a clan are the deeds of a clan, regardless of which members of those clan were present at the time. The Dawnbringers I see as a clan, as I understand it.
And as she says that, I kind of slap the bracer, and I understand that.
Well, it should be easy travel to Luskin, where the real journey will begin. And she begins to set about getting everything ready. What about Cantriel, Griveth? Anything in particular over these 3 days? Cantriel's nodding her head.
Would make a point to go over and speak with Thorgarn at some point.
Okay.
So I guess while I was kind of divvying out some more ale for our travels. Something on your mind, lass?
You put a lot of thought into the racers, didn't you?
Well, I think that we've, become family. I think that's something that it spoke to me, and I felt it was my way of, returning the openness with which the group is taking me in, and a way to do a lot of things all at once. Show my gratitude, show homage to my God, and to, really just set us all upon a path that, lifts us all up.
I think it was a wonderful thing to do.
Well, sometimes they say, there's wonderful on one side and, not so much on the other. Life has got its balances. There's some thoughts that I've been worried about or wanting to talk about, and kind of looks around and sees that there's a lot of merriment and whatnot going on amongst the camp, and doesn't seem to be any, real eavesdroppers going on. So the start of our time alone in Blazing Dell, Griveth came to me and spoke that he's worried that something might happen to him. He doesn't seem to have fully accepted what he needs to do to get over whatever's happened to him from the time in the Citadel. I kind of beat him over the head with it a couple of times, and he just kind of let it flow, I guess, more like that waterfall god of his. And he said if something were to happen to him, he wants me to protect you. And I kind of thought it amusing, considering, that you're pretty darn skilled.
Yes, well, the puppy dog eyes, I think, sometimes blur the reality of what's actually there in front of him.
Which kind of led me down another path. And I know I haven't seen any reactions from you to kind of egg him on. So what if we went in a different way?
A different way?
What if we were to kind of tease that there's something else going on?
You want to poke that beast?
Aye.
It could be rather interesting.
It was, he came to me with this bizarre box of his that he, was brought to tears over, that you wouldn't accept.
You mean the silver one that smelled of death?
Aye, but he always smells of death. That's...
That one was more concentrated.
and it when he opened it up in front of me, it smelled even more awful. I'm telling you.
I'm
But-
glad I didn't bother opening it then.
But along the same lines, I didn't offer one person a gift, but I gave everyone a bracer. Perhaps that's the first step.
Well, it might be nice to get him to sit back and think a little bit. His advances have been a little one-sided, admittedly, more so for issues on my own end. Doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about him, though. I actually did go to the church to see if there was something that might be done. And the sister gave me a box with some interesting contents in it, saying that perhaps we can actually help him out. And I do hope that for him at the very least.
Now, my attempt at magic, while we were in the stronghold, it led me that, whatever he did with whatever he took out of that citadel, that's the key. I can't know exactly what it was, but he's got to make the choice.
Here's to hoping we can help him make it.
Do you know anything about it?
Something along the lines of he wanted to give me something from nature based upon some bad advice. And she'll kind of like look and see if Talmud's in line of sight. So he took it upon himself to pick up a seed from a tree that really should not have been perpetuated after its destruction.
So part of me feels that is, regardless of what path he takes, is this something that we should take care of so that it's not doing whatever it did to the Citadel? Should we be trying to take care of it, not necessarily for him, but for the world, everything else?
Quite frankly, probably for both. And selfishly, because I'd like to see someone that has come across my path not be cursed.
Well, I can't completely say that I'm not, although the success of the Stone Tooth, maybe I've put the curse behind me. I don't know. There's only one way, and that's to keep moving forward.
You and I see eye to eye on a few things then, don't we?
At times.
Usually helps if I'm sitting.
Aye, that does. The gods have given me many things, and height was not one of them.
No, but you have a presence. That's more important.
I do try. And thankfully, they gave me some humor as well.
That's needed.
So think on all the things we talked about and see where it goes.
I will. And thank you again.
My pleasure.
What about Griveth during this 3-day journey?
Yeah, it's Griveth's turn.
Yeah, what about Griveth? What about Griveth?
So, as we're walking, Griveth's in full armor, and he is strutting like a cock. He is looking good. He is, got his weapons and his fantastic armor, and he is just strutting his stuff down the trail. And he pulls up the brazier that Thorgarn gave them, and he's just admiring the craftsmanship, and it's just like he's just thinking back to the times when we first went to this dungeon, fought our way in, helped the goblins, found this tree and everything that's led up to this point, and how we became the Dawnbringers. And so he's just reminiscing of the Brazier, just reminding him of all this, the whole journey they've gone through, you know, including meeting Thorgarn and him becoming part of the Dawnbringers. So he just feels this kind of like patriarchal pride and love for this group. Like he's at a good point right now. Like, you know, that meditation did him good. You know, he like, but you know, on the road, he at some point, you know, he talks to Cantriel and he says, it's great to be out on the road again, don't you think?
Sure.
You know, it's like I'm a man of action. It's just if I think too much, it just, I don't know. I'm just a man of action. I need to be out doing things.
Well, you know,
If
thinking
I dwell too much
sometimes-
in my head, I get caught in there, you know?
Yes, but sometimes it is good to think every so often before reacting.
So you seem to be doing well out in the outdoors.
I prefer it out here.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Is there something else you wanted, Griveth?
Oh no, I was just saying how I'm just happy to be out here with the group, happy to be starting this new quest and be with all of you, you know, and you in particular.
Me in particular.
Just your company makes
In
me
an odd
happy.
way. Well, I'm glad it makes you happy. That's very sweet of you to say.
And I hope we're not going on a fool's errand. I hope they're not using us as, you know, to hurt people or anything like that.
Well, if we see anything we don't like, I have a feeling we can just stop and walk away.
I agree. All right. Well, off to the west. Is that where we're going?
Yes.
Or east?
No, you're traveling west. So all of this kind of takes place at various times throughout your 3 days of journey. On the last day, around midday, you roll into and then through the town of Luskin, traveling on the main road through to the dock ward. And it's a decently bustling dock ward. There are a few ships in harbor and a little bit of activity as ships are loading and unloading. Manistrad brings everything around, kind of calls all the wagon leaders in and the dwarves, and then she points at a mid-sized vessel that its sails are currently furled up. It's a nice looking ship, very dark grained wood, and you can see as it's positioned along the docks in a way that the stern is facing you. You can see the stern castle rising up, and you can see the decks, a little bit of movement as some crews moving around on there. And you see below the windows on the stern, you see a large gold-trimmed blue wooden panel with the name of the ship emblazoned in gold lettering, Evangeline. And Manistrad says, "That is the vessel that I came over on. The captain has been waiting here for, well, nearly 6 weeks now, but he has had things to attend to here in Luskin and had agreed upon meeting is now. So we will go and meet the captain, and then I will have the dwarves bring the supplies on board, and we should be underway within just a few hours. So if you would come with me, please. And she begins moving deliberately towards the docks and towards this ship, the Evangeline. The Evangeline, the dock runs along the port side, the left side of the ship, and a gangplank runs down along about 3 to 4 foot wide planking with cross planks to allow for traction moving up and down. Manistrad walks to the gangplank and begins walking up it. She gets about halfway, and a figure steps out to the top of the gangplank. From the angle looking up at the ship and the angle of the gangplank and everything, his form is briefly silhouetted as the sun is behind him directly. He stands in a very cocky manner as he steps up with hands on his hips, chest thrust out. And he says, "You know, it is customary to ask for permission to board a ship before just walking up the gangplank. You know very well who I am, and we had arranged for this agreement. Nonetheless, the formalities should be observed."
It's also formality to bow to a lady.
Oh. All of a sudden he shifts, and you see a man standing there. He's well muscled, probably looks to be about 35, 36. He's got deeply tanned, weathered skin. He wears a very thin linen shirt, unbuttoned all the way down his chest. He has what appears to be piecemeal forms of a uniform that does still manage to come together in a weird way to look like a uniform. He wears 2 scimitars at his belts. And he wears no hat, but he has sort of shoulder length, thick, sandy blonde hair, unshaven. He steps to the side, the sun kind of illuminating him, and he looks past Manistrad and sees you there, Cantriel. "Oh, my lady, do please forgive me for not observing the formality. Captain Stark Dervish at your service."
Well, Captain Dervish. Well met.
"And who are the rest of these individuals?"
Well, I'm Cantriel.
Cantriel.
Yes. And this here, the tall one, is Griveth.
One of the most deadly warriors in the realm.
He does that sometimes.
Easy there, Griveth. You may want to turn that down just a few notches.
Then we have the cousins. You have Talmud and Thorgarn.
Hello.
And dear Fig.
Fig, is it?
Fig bows.
What an interesting... Is it fellow? I do not mean to offend. I've not seen one such as yourself. I'm not entirely certain what would be the proper way to refer to you.
I have never thought about my pronouns as I do not have the correct parts to determine what is what. However, I do like the masculine ones. So he.
Very well then. Well met, sir. He looks around at all of you. Talmud, Thorgarn, Fig, Griveth, and Cantriel. It is a delight to meet all of you. And of course, I already know you, Manistrad. Manistrad takes a step forward, but Captain Dervish does not move.
So may we have permission to come aboard, sir?
You may, Thorgarn. I'm afraid the formality must be observed, and each and every one of you coming aboard must ask permission. At this point, you see movement behind the captain. And for almost a moment, it looks as if out of his shoulders and his sides, additional arms are growing. But they're not arms. They're greenish gray appendages with eyes at the end of them. As a figure rises up, hovering behind Dervish. A figure whose body is about 4 feet in diameter. These appendages stick out about, each one about 4 feet, and appear to be moving all around. A single eye in the center of this body, a large mouth, as this creature rises up behind Dervish.
Captain, have they asked permission to board yet? You know it's required. Protocol must be observed. Before anybody can board the vessel, I must have permission.
I assure you, Victor, I am observing the protocol. So far, one of them has asked permission.
As long as every one of them, that means each one of the dwarves I see sulking there on the dock as well, must also ask permission.
As you can see, formality is insisted upon. Please, allow me to introduce you to my first mate. This is Victor. He is a spectator and guardian of this vessel, pledged to guard it for 101 years.
What does he like to watch?
Well, quite frankly, everything that takes place on this ship. I do apologize, but Victor sort of came with the ship.
How many years left on his service?
It depends on when you ask him. It's anywhere from 10 to 20 years. He has been on this ship a very long time. Would everybody please simply ask permission to board? You will be approved, and then you may board.
I do divine sense on it. What am I sensing? Is it evil? Is it a celestial fiend or demon?
Well, Griveth, what you detect, as I check something on D&D Beyond real quick, just to be positive, it is not, I do know it is not a celestial fiend or undead. You do not detect good nor evil. It seems to be a truly neutral entity. So I need each of you to ask permission to board the vessel. Thorgarn has already done so, to which Victor replies,
"Permission is granted."
May I have permission?
Yes, you may have permission.
Oh, well, thank you.
Come aboard.
Talmud, throughout this entire approach to the ship and everything, has been probably very obviously trying to avoid looking out to sea. He's turning himself away from it. He's, busying himself with something in the other direction. So now that he's kind of talking to this creature, he's just kind of staring straight at it. And he says, "May I have permission to board your vessel, please?"
If it pleases you, I will grant you permission to board this vessel.
Yes, it would please me very much.
Then it pleases me, and you have permission to board this vessel.
Good. He kind of runs up the gangplank, kind of pushing past everybody and finding a place at the back of the ship somewhere.
May I come aboard this ship?
You may.
And Fig would bow to this thing. Thank you.
Manistrad, somewhere in the midst of all of that, looks directly at Victor the spectator.
May I please have permission to board this vessel? Of course you may have permission to board this vessel. I love the way you say that.
And Captain Dervish looks to you, Cantriel. You simply have to ask permission, and you may board the vessel.
Well, I suppose I can get permission from you.
I'm afraid the protocol, even for you, must be observed. Victor has final say.
Well, Victor, what do you say? Have I permission?
Victor hovers forward, partially down the gangplank to where you stand, until he's about a foot away from you. All 4 eye stalks converge, and then 2 of them sort of look you up and down while the other 2 are looking at Dervish.
I will grant you permission, but I've got my eyes on you. That is a spectator joke.
It's a very good one.
Yes, come aboard. I have to deal with these others.
And over the next several minutes, as the dwarves come on board, each and every one of the 25 dwarves must ask permission and be granted by Victor to come on board the vessel. But only this initial time. You notice as they're loading and unloading, they don't have to observe this formality again. You're not sure how long this permission lasts, but it seems to at least allow moving in and out of the docks. Dervish, now that you are all on the deck, greets you all. As I have said, my name is Captain Stark Dervish. The Evangeline is my vessel, and she is a mighty fine vessel indeed. She is one of... Actually, what he says is, she is the loveliest, and then he sort of looks over at Cantriel and actually winks. Well, one of the loveliest things upon the ocean now. We shall soon be underway, and in no time at all, we will find ourselves in Kaoland, to your final destination, the Saltmarsh. You see a surprisingly... Actually, does anybody here have any... Well, let me do this. Everybody roll a history check. If you have any kind of proficiencies with water vehicles or a sailor background, you can add your proficiency bonus or do it with advantage. Otherwise, just a straight history roll.
18.
I'm going to opt out as I am upheaving over the balcony.
16.
I'm a little worried about Talmud over there. We're not even underway yet, and he is already green at the gills, as they say.
Fig got a 24.
Did anybody get under a 16? So Griveth, you're not really sure how a ship works. Like, I mean, you know that a ship floats and sails and all that stuff, but you don't know anything really about how a ship is crewed. The rest of you do think that the crew seems awfully small for this ship. A sailing ship of this size would typically have a crew of 20 to 30, and there are 12 sailors besides the captain and Victor on board. Dervis explains to all of you, the journey will take a few days. We will be having regular meals that will be served at mornings and evenings. I assure you that the meals are quite wonderful. I actually am also the ship's cook, and I cook very well. But soon we will be underway. Do you have any questions before we begin?
A couple things. Number one, do you have enough crew here? It seems like you're understaffed for a vessel of this size.
Oh no, the Evangeline is fully staffed, I assure you. Trust us, Thorgarn. We know the sea. We know how to handle this ship, and the Evangeline is a special vessel.
And you said a few days?
As long as the winds are with us and everything is in our favor, it should not take very long at all, actually.
That's good to hear.
It doesn't take much time, and the crew has all the dwarves on board. The crew shows everyone down below decks where there are it seems for the most part, most of the dwarves will be sleeping in the hold on hammocks with the crew. Hammocks are stacked 3 high. There's plenty of room. There's also the cargo that they brought on board, as well as other cargo that the captain has taken on board to travel across the sea with. There are a couple of cabins down below that there are enough that Manistrad and each of you will have your own cabin. Before long, the crew unties the ship from the dock, and the captain, standing on the atop the stern castle at the keel, the sails are unfurled, and you notice that each of the sails, there are a couple of large rectangular sails on the main mast and the mizzen mast, but the foremast itself has a large lateen sail, which is a large triangular sail. Each one of these sails has a stylized, it almost looks like a V, but is very stylized. And I'm trying to remember if you guys have, I'm going to have you guys make history checks again. And when I say, if anybody figures this out, when I say what it is, remind me, because I feel like I may have mentioned this once before.
25.
Six for me.
Finally, I get a history check that is accurate for Thorgarn. 3.
All right. It makes sense that Cantriel may have heard of this. You recognize this symbol as belonging to an ancient by hundreds of years, band of adventurers known as the Vieros. Have I mentioned the Vieros before? The Vieros is a homebrew historical adventuring party that exists within the lore of many of my games. That's why I couldn't remember if I had mentioned them before. You, with that high roll, you actually recognize that the blue V, stylized V of the Vieros was actually the personal sigil of a member of this historical group known as Sylvain Aetherlock. So this may have at one time belonged to him, but there's definitely a history to this vessel. And sorry, it was around 100 years, not several hundred years. It was around 100 years that this was this historical group was known to roam. They were actually known most prominently in the southern, mid to southern regions of Faerun. The ship gets underway. Talmud, how soon would you attempt to put yourself to sleep, or would you?
So, I think he's going to probably sequester himself to his cabin. And if it still seems to be something that's bothering him, you know, the motion, if he can sense too much that they're on the water, then he'll probably go ahead and take a pinch.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens with Talmud and whether or not he needs a pinch. As the ship begins sailing on the first day, the sea is relatively calm. The winds are favorable. As the Evangeline, containing 26 dwarven miners, the Dawnbringers, a spectator named Victor, and the captain, Stark Dervish, sails towards the horizon, we see the white sails against the blue skies, and that is where we will end tonight's session. All right. Yeah, as usual, all I had to do was drop a few questions, and you guys just took off with all the RP, which is awesome. I said that earlier in the chat. That's why I love... Sorry, I was swatting at a bug. You guys are awesome. That's what I was saying. You guys are just so awesome. Yeah, some of that Captain Dervish, the Spectator Victor, the Evangeline are all creations that have appeared in other games of mine, in home games. And if you look around on youtube.com/mini-terrain domain, you can actually see the Evangeline. It is a 28mm scale Carrot class merchant vessel that I crafted about 3 years ago. I saw the recognition from at least Jeremy when I mentioned the name of the vessel. I've used it in many games. It's actually in the other room. I should have brought it out here. I could have showed it. But that is the vessel you are currently sailing upon. Next week, we will return with episode 2 of the Dawnbringers. And I don't know what it's going to be titled yet. But lots of really great stuff, as usual, from all of these wonderful folks. I'm excited for this new chapter because we've done, the last 2 seasons have been dungeon crawls, and this is going to be sort of a limited sandbox. You guys are heading to the Saltmarsh, and you will be able to settle into your current, at least scoping out your prospects for your current job, and just getting to familiarize yourself with the area and see what kind of I'm sure it's a normal town, and you know, things will go by pretty smoothly. Nothing crazy is going to happen. You know, so this session, this is campaign season, will probably only run about 3 or 4 sessions. I'm actually expecting to have to break Ghosts of Saltmarsh up into a couple seasons, potentially, depending on what you guys do. But I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you all are. Somebody mentioned they didn't know what level you guys are. You guys are level 6. They are 7. Sorry, 7. You are all level 7 which you could tell by clicking on their character sheets in the overlay, powered by D&D Beyond. And we're going to get out of here in just a moment because we did a bunch of announcements at the beginning. Definitely, at any time, you can punch in exclamation point in any one of these players' names, and all their social media links will pop up. When the VOD goes up on YouTube in a couple days, all their links are down below. But right now, type in exclamation point Nerdarchy, and you will get a link to Nerdarchy's incredible Kickstarter. Ted, what's the latest update?
So last I was looking, we're 37.5, getting closer to that next stretch goal. It's going to be super awesome. The more things we unlock, the closer that we'll get to that super secret, never before done on a 5th edition Kickstarter. So I can't reveal any more than that cool thing. But just stay tuned, and we still have 30 days on it. We got a lot of stuff planned, and if we manage to get close to that one, then we'll see what else we might be able to do and add and what have you. But if you're looking for some awesome adventures, some awesome encounters to drop right into your game, they could be puzzles, they could be socials, they could have variable challenge difficulties. We got a lot planned for this book, and most of it's already written. So we're getting down to getting art and getting some special people to add some extra encounters to it if we unlock all those stretch goals. So yeah, check it out. Back it if you can, share it if you can't.
It's incredibly awesome. In addition to that, you can check out Nerdarchy for tons on YouTube and on the web, Facebook, all over the place, for tons of amazing D&D and RPG content. You can tune into the Nerdarchy channel one Friday a month to find V and I over there playing in a game along with Ted as the DM. You check out Scotty's stuff. Scotty's got the theDMsCraft, but he's also got, along with the DMG info, they've got the Quest Givers, which we've run on the channel here before and will run more in the future. We've got over on Dice on Ice, of course, you saw the Griveth commercial during the break, and I believe we are currently in the Griveth-versary. So you didn't even make me say it, and I still said it because I kind of like it. So definitely check out Griveth on Drive-Thru RPG. Megan and Connor created this incredible setting, which games have been run here in the past and will be run in the future. Plus, every other Tuesday, not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday will be the schedule. I'm over on Dice on Ice playing a Dwarven fighter that was just revealed that he is actually a gunslinger. Eli Lancaster in our Curse of Strahd adventure that Megan is DMing. And once a month over on Erasmus Expeditions, Jeremy's channel, I am also playing a dwarf, but a petulant, fiery tempered and fiery headed, very young dwarf that is currently has caused some problems, but has been reprimanded sharply by her elders in Momentum Whispers and Fragments, I believe is the correct. And of course, you can always tune in on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Sundays is Cult of Personality, Mondays is All That Glitters, and of course Thursdays is a little game we like to call the Dawnbringers. So thank you everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you, of course, so I see some new people have followed the channel, and we love that. Quinny and BC gifted 5 subscriptions to people in the chat, so that earned some domain dice. Starin19 resubscribed, so thank you, Starin. Starin is a regular here in the chat. Thank you to each and every one of you. Even if we don't see you in the chat, if you're just lurking, watching, we love you. Thank you for being a part of us. Thank you, Scotty, V, Megan, Ted, and Jeremy. Without you, of course, there would be no Dawnbringers. It would just be me playing pretend by myself. And while that would have a certain level of awesomeness, it wouldn't be anywhere near as awesome as this game is. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We're going to end the stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.